national are a significant national asset. They empower the next generation with skills and knowledge and contribute significantly to the ability of our economy to compete globally through innovative and appropriate research. Our universities currently face serious challenges in terms of funding. At the same time, large numbers of South Africans are currently finding it difficult to access post-school education because of the financial challenges they as individuals or as families face. Government is aware of these challenges and takes them very seriously. Indeed, government remains firmly committed to progressively realize free post-school education for the poor and working class, as called for by our Constitution, and to assist middle-class families who are unable to pay. This is demonstrated by, amongst other things, the creation of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into Higher Education and Training Funding, which includes universities and technical and vocational education and training colleges, which we call TVET colleges, as well as the substantial increases in funding to the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS, since 2010. The task of the Presidential Commission is to advise on systemic and long-term measures to achieve a far-reaching reconstitution of the entire post-school education and training funding system, with a particular focus, of course, on student funding, thereby enabling South Africans to access higher education, even if they come from poor and working-class families. The Presidential Commission recommendations will hopefully also contribute significantly to building and strengthening our universities and TVET colleges, and the Commission should be allowed to complete its vitally important task. In the interim, while we all wait for the recommendations of this Commission, our university system has to continue functioning, as well as our TVET college system, producing skills for the economy and empowering young South Africans and students from countries around the world, in particular the SADC community. Currently, our universities face an extremely difficult financial situation. The effects of last year's moratorium on fee adjustments and the extra costs associated with insourcing have both added to these challenges. Our immediate and pressing task is to ensure that as we continue to improve access to post-school education and strengthen the quality of learning and teaching, we do not erode the financial sustainability of the sector. Our economy is currently weak and our fiscal position perilous. The tax burden has been rising in recent years, and we must preserve the fiscal space to fund government's policy agenda in future years, and the Minister of Finance concurs on this. This means that any funding government mobilizes to support the pressing challenges in higher education, it would need to reprioritize from other government programs. We understand the legitimate student concerns about the affordability of university education. At the same time, we need to ensure that those who can afford to pay must pay. Equally important, the post-school budget has to cover students in technical and vocational education and training institutions, while we also face the challenge of building a community college sector to provide educational alternatives for 18 million South Africans who are unable to study at university. In other words, our job as government requires a number of very delicate balancing acts. To achieve our objectives, we must continue arguing for as significant a budget allocation as possible for post-school education. Indeed, a look at this year's budget shows that this sector received the largest increase in funding of any government department. Higher education and training this year received an additional 18% for 2016-2017, with an average annual increase of 9.8% across the medium-term expenditure framework period up till 2018 into 2019. From 42 billion rand in the 2015-16 financial year, the department's budget is set to rise to 55.3 billion in 2018-2019. Government has this year provided 1.9 billion of the 2.3 billion shortfall resulting from the subsidization of the 2016 university fee increase. More than 4.5 billion rands in the 2016-2017 financial year has been reprioritized to the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. If you add the other 10 billion in the hands of NSFAS, we are talking this year of 14.5 billion rands for NSFAS by government. Expanded funding is targeted to support 205,000 students entering universities for the first time or continuing this year, and a further 200,000 students at TVET colleges. This means that a total of 405,000 students would receive government support to access universities and colleges in 2016. The National Skills Fund has allocated, this is now in addition to NSFAS, has allocated 1.393 billion rand in 2016 towards funding undergraduate and postgraduate bursaries in scarce and critical skills. This funding is directed at meeting the full cost of study for over 13,500 undergraduate and 1,200 postgraduate students enrolled in programs at our 26 public universities. It's a significant amount of money that sometimes the media doesn't write about, because this is in addition to NSFAS that we have got bursaries for students who are in critical and scarce skills to the tune of just under 1.4 billion. In addition, and perhaps most importantly, we must also ensure that we strengthen and empower those sectors which are charged with training and skilling people, either who choose not to go to university or who do not have the opportunity, but nevertheless must be assisted to become useful contributors to the economy. To support this aim, the National Skills Fund, again, has allocated 626 million in 2016 towards supporting TVET college students in occupational programs with a specific emphasis on occupations in high demand, and 1.237 billion rands towards funding students in workplace-based learning. This is above the amount of money we give to NSFAS for TVET college students. Artisan development is also key on our agenda to address the National Development Plan target of producing 30,000 artisans per annum by 2030. Dependent on the artisan trade, it costs between 350,000 to 400,000 over a period of 3 years to train an artisan. This year, the target is to register 30,750 new artisan learners, which will amount to approximately 4.6 billion rand in artisan learner grant funding through the Sector Education and Training Authorities, the SETAs. It is indeed a fine balancing act, and we must all participate, whether at the national level in university administrations or college administration or as student leaders, because it is the nature of balancing acts that if one falls, all fall. Last month, I received recommendations from the Council on Higher Education on university fees for 2017. I have studied these recommendations, consulted with university vice chancellors and council chairs, various student organizations, organized labor, faith communities, political organizations, and government. I wish to take this opportunity to thank the CHE for the work they've done in this regard. Ladies and gentlemen, the issues at stake are complex, and there are differing opinions and arguments across the system. The CHA argued for a consumer price index-based fee adjustment for 2017, while many university leaders have made a strong case that an 8% agreement or adjustment, which is CPI plus 2%, is essential to cover what is normally known as the Higher Education Price Index, which is usually CPI plus 2. On the other hand, some students have called for a moratorium on all fee adjustments until the outcome of the Presidential Commission is announced, whilst others are supporting government's measures to assist students from poor working and middle-class families, which includes what is sometimes called the missing middle. Currently, the authority for determining fee adjustments resides with university councils. The CHE has suggested, to their leadership that the system will be best served by a national approach to this issue. However, at the same time, we do recognize the differentiated nature of the system, and then that a one-size-fits-all approach may not lead to sustainability in the system over the long run. Must just underline here that the authority to set fees rests with university councils, not with the minister. Government is alive to the legitimate cries of students regarding fees and to those of the universities who must continue to pay for specialist books and equipment in foreign currency and ensure that academic support and service staff are adequately remunerated for their work. As we wrestle with how to respond comprehensively, the equally critical building and transforming of our post-apartheid universities and colleges has to be supported. Starving our universities and colleges of funding is not the way to go, which is effectively what another across-the-board fee rise moratorium against the current fiscal backdrop would mean at this point. While the Presidential Commission does its important work in developing proposals for a long-term funding model, universities and colleges will not be able to operate with less funds than what they already have. Everything is more expensive today than it was this time last year. Rates have gone up, whether it's electricity or for water, and many other cost of living related items. That is the reality of inflation. We have looked at the challenges at hand from all sides and have concluded that the best approach would be to allow universities individually to determine the level of increase that their institutions will require to ensure that they continue to operate effectively and at least maintain existing quality, with the caution that this has to also take into account affordability to students and therefore has to be transparent, reasonable, and related to inflation-linked adjustments. Our recommendation is that the fee adjustment should not go above 8%. To ensure that such inflation-linked fee adjustments on the 2015 fee baseline are affordable to financially needy students, government is committing to finding the resources to support children of all poor, working, and middle-class families those with a household income of up to 600,000 Rand per annum, with subsidy funding to cover the gap between the 2015 fee and the adjusted 27 fee at their institution. This will be done for fee increments up to 8%. This will in effect mean that all NSFAS qualifying students, as well as the so-called missing middle, that is, students whose families earn above the NSFAS threshold but who are unable to support their children to access higher education, will experience a no-fee increase in 2017. All those categories of students. Government will pay for the fee adjustment, which means the taxpayer will pay for the fee adjustment. This will bring huge relief to nurses, teachers, police, social workers, and other parents who work in occupations that do not earn huge salaries and who have children at university. This will apply to students at universities and TVET colleges this time around. Administrative mechanisms will be developed and students informed on how to apply for the gap funding grant before the end of this academic year. There are many students from upper middle class and well-off families, as well as students on full company bursaries in our institutions who can afford to pay the adjusted 2017 fees, and we expect them to do so. It is very unclear, for instance, to government, why families who can afford private schools in this country should, under the current circumstances, be receiving further state subsidies for their children at universities. To subsidize these students would require taking funding from the poor to support cheaper higher education for the wealthy, which is not justifiable in a context of inequality in our country. We cannot subsidize the child of a cleaner or unemployed person in the same way as we subsidize the child of a highly paid advocate or investment banker, for instance. While NSFAS will continue to provide loans and bursaries to poor students, the Department of Higher Education and Training and universities will continue to mobilize institutional and private sector financial support to enable affordable financial aid options for the missing middle students. We're fairly advanced, in fact, with investigating a system that will also assist students from the missing middle to actually access funding for university and college education. I have constituted then to this effect the Ministerial Task Team on funding support for the poor and missing middle students, which is developing a model that will be tested in 2017 to provide affordable support to these students. We will continue to look for other ways of supporting financially needy students not covered by NSFAS, whilst a long-term solution is being developed to raise sufficient funding from the public sector, the private sector, and other sources to fund missing middle students at universities and TVET colleges. Universities must urgently, effectively, and comprehensively advance our shared transformation as articulated in the 2015 Durban Statement on Transformation and provide annual reports on their progress, as we strongly believe that whilst it is legitimate to focus on issues of student fees, other aspects of transformation of universities must not lag behind. Moreover, universities are also expected to pay all of their staff, both permanent and contracted, a fair living wage. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. That is the statement. As I said, the panel will take questions. We'll take them in a set of 3 questions. So I'm going to open for questions in Pretoria. When I have 3 hands, or the statement is clear enough, I see only 1 hand. Minister, it seems like you were clear. Maybe we must pack and go. 1, 2. I saw another hand this side. 3. Yep. You start first. Please introduce yourself and tell us which media house you're from.
All right. Sipho Stilman from SABC TV News. Just for sake of clarity, Minister, you mentioned that NFSA's qualifying students and the so-called missing middle will not experience any fee increment. Can you just tell us what have you budgeted to cover this gap going forward? And also, if you can also, just also a sake of clarity, so does this mean now the missing middle will still fund their own studies and then government will only come in to fund the gap that would have been caused by the fee increment? If you can just offer that, clarify that for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Oh, same question. There was another question here.
Honorable Minister, my name is Lawal Suleiman from Channels TV, Lagos, Nigeria. From the breakdown now, no mention have been done on foreign students who are here. They are paying far more than the locals. Is this going to affect them, or what is their stand now? Thank you.
Okay. Lorato, you can take the opportunity. The other hand as well.
Sure. It's Loranzita from eNCA. Just to add on to my colleague's question about the missing middle. I mean, how many people are we talking about? How many students do you envisage will be qualifying for this this provision? And also, just to give us more clarity on the figures, how much has been budgeted for this missing middle? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Minister. Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Sorry. Oh, okay. Sipho, you are correct that we are going to be covering both NSFAS students and the missing middle. NSFAS students, obviously, they are paid for. Tuition fees, accommodation, food, and books. The missing middle, you are correct. What we are going to be subsidizing is the increase for this year. But as the statement goes on to say, as from next year, we are actually piloting a system appropriate to the missing middle, not just to give them relief on fees, but also on how nurses, teachers, and so on can be able to also to access loans for their students so that they are able not to pay any fee upfront, with the aim of implementing that by 2018, hopefully. But we are of the view, we are strongly of the view that this is for the first time, in fact, that we are acting as government on the missing middle in this way. We think that a no-fee, experience of a no-fee increase for the missing middle is going to make a huge difference, because it means they are not going to be paying extra money. All those of families whose household income is up to 600,000 rand. Whilst the other processes are continuing of finding a lasting solution to the missing middle, as well as the work being done by the Presidential Commission. As to where and how the money will come from, unfortunately, I'm not the Minister of Finance. I cannot be able to address that. I'm hoping the Minister of Finance will possibly signal something in the medium-term budget policy statement. But also I can't commit him in his absence as to when and how he will do this. It will be him who will actually be addressing that question. Foreign students, you must remember that we have a SADC agreement that all students from SADC region will be charged fees as if they were local students. But from the rest of the continent and the rest of the world, they will be charged fees that are charged other foreign students, with the exception of 2 countries in the continent. It's South Sudan, which we treat as a SADC country, as well as, is it Rwanda? Is Rwanda? Yes. Because of the conditions, you know, and the past in those countries. So which means that SADC students will benefit from this if they are to be charged as local students. How many students are going to benefit? We estimate, you see, remember also we are still going to be doing the exercise by the universities and colleges to determine. But in terms of our own statistical estimation, is that this intervention is going to benefit 70% of all undergraduate students in our university system, which is enormous. It's quite an important intervention that will have palpable effect in the pockets of all those who are going to be experiencing a no-fee increase. Am I leaving out something on that?
Yeah,
How much?
will it cost?
No. As to how much you want to come in, DJ?
Yeah, it's fine. No, in respect to the costs, there are engagements with the Treasury at the present moment into determining exactly how much will this be dipping into the public purse. And it's covering both universities as well as TVET college sectors. And the rough work thus far that we have undertaken is showing some indications, though not conclusive, around 2.56 billion or so. But it's not conclusive at the present moment. And the rough work across the system, in collaboration, we have done collaboration with Stats SA as well as Treasury through engagement with our institutions as well. We may be talking about plus or minus 70 to 80% of the student population, you know, currently, that government would have to bear costs for. Those are the indications that are coming up, Minister, to this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we go to Cape Town? Cape Town, can we take 3 questions, please?
Yes, we have questions in Cape Town. Paul?
Minister, with the benefit of hindsight,
Can you introduce yourself, please, Randall?
Sorry, Wendell from Reuters. Minister, do you think that the last year's no fees moratorium has created a legitimate expectation on behalf of the students that there won't be any fee increases going forward? And certainly we're seeing that being played out currently at universities, some of which are closed. Was that decision for a no fees moratorium a sort of a political decision in the run-up to the elections, or was it properly thought through? And just lastly, on the question of the recommended cap of 8%, what happens if in the for example, you have your former historically black universities saying that, you know, they need the fees more than your other white universities, if I can put it as bluntly as that. Now, so what is to prevent them from not honoring the cap? I mean, is there a mechanism that if they say we need to go higher because our circumstances are different, how do you then enforce the recommendation if it is such? Thanks.
That will be all for now, because Paul earlier on passed the ball to Wendell. So we'll send back to you, Harold.
Okay, we'll take the other 2 questions from Pretoria. One on the right, and then Krista on this one.
Good morning, Minister. Anton Meyer here from Pretoria FM. We've heard from various student organizations and student leaders that they will not accept any fee increase and that they are demanding another 0% fee increase. There will certainly be sectors of the society that will not be happy with your announcement today of the 8% cap. Universities will enforce then a fee increase up to 8%. What's your message to these students that said they will go out and shut down universities again? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Crisalda Lewis from SABC Television News. Mine adds to the question asked by my colleague. We understand that at Wits University at the moment, where students had gathered to listen to your address, Minister, they're saying they're not happy with the decision that you have made, and they are now threatening to shut down Wits University, saying that they had been calling all along for a 0% increase. What's your message to those students?
Thank you. You want to take the last one? So we can.
It's me.
Yep.
My name is Kelda Normal from ANN7. Also adding to that, Minister, your recommendation of 8% not go above, you said your fee adjustment should not go above 8%. The tertiary institutions had warned that anything below 8% increase would cripple them financially. So what would be that impact? Have you consulted with them? What is their view on this? Thank you.
Thank you. Minister, can we respond to that?
Yeah, okay. Thanks. Start with Wendell. I think that firstly, I wouldn't say that firstly, let's make one thing clear. Fees did go up this year by 6%. We mustn't forget that. Fees did go up by 6% this year. So to say that there was no fee increase, it's not correct. It's just that those fee increases were largely paid for by government and some of the universities who could raise some money. The fact of the matter is, we want as wide a range of students to experience a no-fee increase, but someone is paying, is the taxpayer. And as we say, things go up. They don't wait for commissions. They do go up, it's a fact. And also the issue that some universities are in a very precarious situation means that an adjustment has to be made. Now, how do we enforce this? Well, we've reached an agreement with the vice chancellors and the university council chairpersons that given the sensitivity of this matter, they would all commit to be guided centrally. So it's their own commitment. We haven't usurped any institution's powers. We hope that through that commitment, then, they will be hopefully be bound by this. Now, what is the message to the students? Government policy as it stands is that we are supporting students from poor backgrounds. There is no free higher education for everyone. One of the unintended consequences of a no-fee increase or of paying for everyone so that there would be no fee increase for them is that we paid for parents who can afford and the wealthy. I am sure that the students cannot position themselves to be fighting for wealthy parents, for example, or parents who may not be wealthy but who can afford to pay. Now, we must not, even if we are making interim interventions as we are doing now, whilst waiting for the commission, for instance, the Presidential Commission, to finish things, we can't begin to do and create expectations which are wrong. It is incorrect in a country like South Africa that we should actually pay parents who can afford as well as for the rich. We lost millions of rands this year, for example, from corporates who are paying scholarships. Many were saying to us, why did you include us in this? Because we could have afforded, because that extra money we need, and that extra money is also precisely needed so that it could further support poor students in other ways other than just student fees. So we want to say to the students, whilst they have a right to protest, but they must actually also, they have a duty to understand we're a highly unequal country. We think this coverage is actually covering a larger number of parents. That is why also we are calling upon parents to also come and join us and actually assist us in saying teachers, nurses who are going to be paying are now not going to be paying a fee increase in 2017, so that we are able also at the end of the day to approach our universities. I am aware that there are sections of people who want to use these legitimate concerns of students for their own narrow political agendas. We are saying to the students, please do not be misled. This is a very, very big intervention by government, a first of its kind. Students can't be mobilized to actually struggle for parents who can afford and to campaign for the rich, because that's what it will end up being. That a moratorium, it means you are campaigning for the rich. That is the view of government, and that is the policy of government. And by the way, we have also consulted very widely on this. We just need to say that we were consulting very widely. There is huge consensus around this. That is why we are announcing it confidently. There is huge consensus amongst youth formations, among students formations, amongst faith communities, and many other institutions, the trade union movement, to say this is the correct way to go. There was something about a figure, which I thought maybe. ANN7, what are you saying about below 8%? Sorry?
Sorry, the tertiary institutions has said any recommendations 8% and below would cripple the institutions. So
yes, we agree with them. Because we must be careful. We have the largest and most respected higher education system on the African continent. We have 70,000 foreign students in our universities. Proportionately, we're amongst the highest in the world in terms of the proportion of students, foreign students who are studying in our institutions. These institutions must also be accessible, be kept so that they are accessible to the poor and generations to come. Because one of the things we do not want to do is to start to see a process where rich families begin to send their children to overseas institutions in Europe and North America. Because that income is very crucial for actually assisting us in a society that has got such high inequalities. That is why we engaged the universities and took into account what they are saying. We can't destroy our universities in the name of defending no fee increases for the rich. There was something which was about a figure. What was it?
I think you have answered it, Mr.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Can I see now a few hands? I take it this is the last round. Should I check with Cape Town? Cape Town, are there any last hands there?
Yes, we do, Howard.
Let's take those last hands.
Okay.
Good morning, Minister. Paul Vecchiato from Bloomberg. On the question on the 600,000 Rand cutoff, how did you come to that number? And will that be increased at any stage? Thank you.
Yeah, that's the last one from our side, Harold.
I see a hand in the dark there. Okay, there are three hands. It's 1, 2, and you will be the last one. Going on. and then you will be the last one. So I've recognized 4 hands, and that would be it. Yes, sir. Please speak to the mic and introduce yourself.
This is Bongani Nkosi from the Sowetan. Pertaining to registration fees, exactly, how is this moratorium on no fee for missing middle going to work? Because universities are also at liberty to increase registration fees, and we know that registration fees can also be a make or break for students. So how is this going to work?
Okay,
Thanks.
next hand there.
Thank you very much. I'm a student activist from the University of Pretoria, standing as someone who's also calling for free education.
Sorry,
No.
my brother. Here we are.
No.
It's a media briefing.
No.
We
Yes,
only
but we are
take
reporting for
questions
the
from
students, that's why I want
journalists.
to ask.
No. We're taking questions from journalists. If you want to
Okay.
engage, you can engage the department after. Yes, sir.
Samgelo Masego from Jacaranda FM. Minister, over the past few weeks, there's been open letters going around. You say there's consensus around youth formations on this particular matter. Just a few weeks back, the ANC Youth League released a scathing letter against you, saying you must declare free quality higher education now, and you failed to implement a resolution of your own political organization on this matter. Contrary to that, you are saying there's consensus, which is which here, Minister, because you're contradicting the ANC Youth League. SAUS also yesterday speaking to them, they're saying they don't agree with the fee increments, irregardless of those who are in the middle class and poor, because you are dividing students across economic lines. Thank you.
You will notice that the minister has indicated who are the people that he has spoken to, and we don't necessarily deal with party political issues. We can deal with that afterwards, but the minister will answer the questions on the consultations that have been done. Minister?
No, let me start with that, Samuel. I don't know whether you read the ANC Youth League open letter. Did you read it? You saw what it said. It said I must address poor students and the missing middle, which is exactly what we are doing here. I didn't hear it saying something along those lines. I don't want to speak for them. But that is what the open letter, because I read that open letter carefully. It didn't say what we are saying it is saying. How did we come, Paul, we're asking a very important question. How did we come to this figure of 600,000? Look, we've been doing some work as the department for quite some time now, which is now greatly assisted by this ministerial task team that we have set up on the missing middle, as well as using figures engaging Stats SA to actually look at who actually is the missing that persistently has been raised with me by teachers that I come across, nurses, is the fact that they are not able to deal with these matters. So a no-fee increase that they will experience will make a very big difference to them. We are quite convinced. We've discussed the issue of registration fees. Firstly, NSFAS students do not pay registration fees. We give money up front as the academic year begins, or just before the start of the academic year, to colleges and universities for NSFAS students, so that NSFAS students do not have to pay registration fees. The rest of the students do pay registration fees. We are concerned, of course, we share the same sentiment as many students that some of these fees are too high and unaffordable. We have engaged the vice chancellors, and they have indicated that, because many students have been saying, why require 10,000 upfront? Can I not pay the 10,000 rands? In other words, in installments, rather than it being wanted at the same time. Many universities are open to negotiations about that, and we've also raised that with them, that they should actually be looking sympathetically at how these are being paid. By the way, registration fees are not separate, they are part of fees. They are not a separate component. It's that when you register, there is an upfront amount of money that is actually required. That universities have said they are willing to actually be looking at how it can be done in a manner that it minimizes too much expense on students. I don't want, by the way, Samgelo, if I come back, to be debating with SAUS through the media. SAUS has been consulted, and SAUS has indicated that it would be satisfied with an announcement along these lines.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, this is the end of the media briefing. Those who still want the interviews one-on-one, particularly on camera, we're open to that so that we can clear them. But the minister has got other pressures, so we need to quickly do those. Cape Town, are you saying that there's a last question there?
Yes, please, from Paul. Paul, please take this one.
Minister Paul from Bloomberg again. There was talk in the February budget about transferring surpluses from the SETAs into helping to deal with this fee problem. Could you tell us what progress has come through on that?
Okay, that will be the last question, and then we close.
Just another burning one.
Sorry,
Sorry,
point of clarity.
What is the point of clarity? We need to close now.
Yes, forgive me. Thanks, Harold. Forgive me. Just to the DG, was the figure that he mentioned, I didn't hear quite so nicely. Was it 2.9 billion that he says that they were talking about the Treasury, please? Thank you.
Okay, did you want to?
Yeah,
No,
that will be all from Cape Town.
It's plus or minus 2.5 up to 2.6. I didn't feature 0.9 at all. Thank you very much.
We end up
Thank you, sir.
2.5 to 2.6. You heard that correctly, right? Thank you.
Well, this year we had to use surpluses from the SETAs to offset part of the government money, as the Minister of Finance had explained, came from the SETA surpluses for 2016. It's not clear for 2017. As I said, the Minister of Finance will be the one who actually makes the appropriate announcements, possibly including where money has come from or is going to come from.
Thank you very much. That's the end. There is some refreshments for journalists on the other side, but those that need the interviews, please come to the front here. We deal with them, and so we can release the principals. Thank you very much.